where we meet farmers and their supporters, and we bring them on the show to get their backstory and get their input on Hawaii's food system. I'm your co-host, Justine Espiritu, and this is my co-host,
Matt Johnson. And thank you once again. So we are excited. This is our third episode, and so we're having a lot of fun. And today we're super excited. I mean, we're always super excited, but maybe even a little more super excited, where we have Neil and Shin Ho with us today from Ho Farms.
Feel free to jump in at any time on Twitter if you have any questions for us or our lovely guests. Tweet us at ThinkTech Hi. So let's introduce our lovely guest. So we have Shin Ho, who is the operations manager of Ho Farms.
And then we also have Neil Ho. Basically what we're here today is we want to get your guys' story about Ho Farms, how the family got into farming, and then some of the path that you guys took to come back and start working with the family farm, and just kind of hear about your experiences, maybe some of the frustrations as well about actually farming, getting in the ground and doing what you guys are doing. And so that's what we're going to be doing, and looking forward to it.
Sounds good.
All right. So how about we go ahead and hear from you guys now, where just talk a little bit about how the farm got started,
okay.
Talking about your parents and really the origins of Ho Farms.
Okay. So Ho Farms started about 22 years ago. I think it was 24 years ago. Wow. On a 1-acre parcel in Kahuku. So my dad decided he was actually a taxi cab driver, and he, wasn't making enough money, he wasn't stable, he wasn't working for himself, and he knew that because he, didn't have education in the U.S., that, starting his own business was kind of the path to controlling your own financial freedom. So he started farming Japanese cucumbers, and at that time, my grandfather and one of my uncles was already farming out in Kahuku. So that's how it started, and that's when Neil and I were probably end of elementary school. And then a few years later, by the time I was 13, we moved to Kahuku. And Neil and I were living in Kahuku. We went from the city to, out to the country for us. That's how I got started. And my dad pretty much was growing all different types of crops, from cucumbers, eggplant, long squash, and he was just selling it to middlemen. His primary job was to sell it, and then there was someone that was there to buy it. So really, it was not in control of the price. It was just the market price that he got. It was what he sold his product for. And Neil and I grew up on the farm since we were in middle school, and then we can fast forward, and I think in 2006 was when we branded Ho Farms, and that's when Ho Farms started. And so next year will be our 10th anniversary.
Right on. Congratulations.
Not yet. 1 more year.
Okay.
Hold that back.
Getting excited.
Well, so you already had some family farming when your parents got into it. So then growing up, did that seem like a natural progression? Like, oh, this is going to be my future. This is getting passed down. I'm curious to kind of hear where that fit into your dreams.
I don't think we ever, we always grew up, our parents always told us, get an education, and that way we could get a job and do a 9-to-5. We never really, they didn't encourage us to be farmers. I think we kind of came back, helped out a little bit, and
we kind of fell into it. A lot of people do ask us, how did you get started into this? And so we both went to college in California, and I had some experience in retail management and wasn't really feeling my job, and I was kind of ready to move back home. I was kind of over the LA, living in the big city. So I decided to move back, and at that time, my parents, they actually got accepted to Costco as a vendor.
Wow.
So we basically needed to set up a lot of things. One, for me, I knew branding, how do we package our product? What kind of boxes do we put it in? So, in 2006, when I came back, that's what we started. And we started launching into Costco, Japanese cucumbers, and baby Roma tomatoes. Those were the two first items that we started with. And I think up to this point, I mean, I'm probably on my 9th year, and I'm pretty confident that there is a future in agriculture for us, and it's definitely not an easy path. But we're committed to it.
So it seems like what you studied in school was applicable to kind of coming back.
Absolutely.
What was the industry you were working in LA?
I was working in retail management, but I had a degree in international business marketing and finance or something like that.
That's relevant.
Yeah.
I feel like.
And Neil has an IT degree.
Okay.
So, I mean, he's our IT guy.
That's why you're always tinkering, coming up with
Yeah.
new software solutions for the farm.
Pretty
Yep.
much trying to, yeah.
So why don't you go ahead and Neil and talk a little bit about like what you studied in school and then how the IT, how you're trying to bring that into the farm a little bit.
Well, I basically studied network communication management, so basically just networking between offices and stuff like that, Cisco systems. But I actually, when I was done with school, I actually got into logistics. We used to, it's basically a construction supplier. We purchased stone for construction projects and we'd ship them all over the world. So I actually, with my IT background, I didn't really implement it in my work, but when I got into the farm, that's when I did that, yeah. But I did learn a lot from my previous job with shipping, so, you know, being able to move product around when we need to source product from California, bring in supplies and stuff like that. Yeah.
And it was a little more challenging to get Neil to move back from California. I remember like, because you moved back before Neil did, and that's when I met you.
Yep.
And then I remember meeting you, but you were still living in California, so
Yeah, I was having
a
fun.
little harder before getting back. Yeah.
Well, that's interesting. I mean, me growing up, I've always looked at families like this that have had a business or been in an industry, and I've always been envious of like, wow, I wanted that like set path of that's like knowing what you were gonna come back to. Do you? That's not.
We didn't know. Yeah, absolutely not. You know, we fell into it, and like I was trying to say earlier, I think we really struggle with like, is this what we're really doing, and is it really viable? You know, in the long term, like, will we have the opportunity to, you know, have more stable hours and work days, and you know, will we be able to like start a family, or am I still going to be working, you know, 7 days a week to like 8 o'clock at night, like sometimes my parents do, and like we have to do as well. Yeah.
Do you think, you know, you talk about farming being kind of a tough industry. Do you think the fact that it is a family farm, is that the reason you guys have stuck it out? And because you have that, either you have that support system right there in the business with you, or because you don't
I think that's part of the
abandon your
reason why we
parents, or-
I think it's
stuck
pretty
out.
rewarding to work with family, you know, but at
Yeah.
the same time, it's pretty tough too, right? Sometimes you're like, yeah, you know, it's my family, but sometimes you're like, oh my God, I just can't handle this.
I imagine you also kind of feel part of the pressure, like I'm sure at different parts, and when you finished school, you were thinking about doing other things, but then you're also still feeling that pressure, you know, to stick with the family, because I'm sure your parents were very excited to have you guys come back. And I'm sure they're still excited to have you guys.
More
Yeah.
excited now because it's permanent.
That's awesome. I'm really curious too for you coming back, and I kind of see the farm and ag industry. Is it pretty male dominated? I feel like I've seen your name and seen you out there, like you've been kind of a fixture, and as like a woman, has that had any, like what's the feel for that?
I think it's only different for me because I'm younger. You know, it's kind of like the new generation taking over ag. I don't really see it as like male, female.
Okay.
I just see, you know, like I'm a valuable asset because I'm the next generation farmer, you know, like you guys are saying, I mean, if the average age of the farmer is 56, you know, that's my parents right there. Yeah.
And you said you guys are still, your family and your farm is still part of a community of farmers that have been farming next to each other for years. Do you see, I mean, does it really seem like Ho Farms lucked out with, you know, their kids choosing to continue this? I think we constantly hear about family farms and the kids wanting to move to the mainland, move to the city, not do the industry. So
Yeah.
do you see those other family farms, their kids are just like, peace, I'm out of here?
I think we lucked out in many ways. It's challenging, you know. I think we have the right kind of product mix. You know, we have the tomatoes that everybody loves, and we're able to bring a good, consistent volume of the Japanese cucumbers. You know, and we're able to shrink wrap it and keep it fresh in the stores. And then what we're also doing is we're doing direct sales to a lot of the stores. So the dynamics of a lot of things, and a lot of people are like, we love your logo, you know, it's just a combination of having Neil, having my dad who has expertise in growing, you know, having my mom work in the pack house. I mean, it's a combination of a lot.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that has put us in this situation. And I think other farmers that in our same community, they struggle with the issues of, you know, getting the right price for their product, you know, getting access to affordable land and water, you know, just even
language barriers.
Language barrier, yep. And continue education, like, you know, I want to farm, but like, how do I find the time between, you know, doing what makes money for me and actually learning new techniques in farming?
And would you guys say that, because there is that community of farmers in Kahuku that I guess you guys are all on the same lease or different leases, basically an ag park in that area. Would you say that you guys are kind of acting like in between for some of those farms, kind of helping them out, since you guys are probably one of the better known farms and maybe one of the larger farms in that area?
Yeah, they come by when, you know, when they need supplies. They'll come by, ask for advice, and you know, they're pretty much like family to us. They've been around so long. You know, I've grown up around them when I was a kid, so I share with them what I know, and you know, if they need help with anything, then yeah, we're there.
That's awesome. That's kind of what I've seen and appreciated in the farm industry or community here. I went through the Go Farm program, and with having this kind of like cohort environment, I think is unique, and I think it's a really great way, especially for starting new businesses and something with farming and, you know, trying to supply something so essential in the community. And it's not just about growing the product, but all the different people that are involved that help out, and that idea of like competitiveness versus cooperation. I see that in a lot of different areas. It's cool. I know that because that was my experience in Go Farm, and it's great to hear that there are those different communities in the ag community.
Can you guys talk a little bit about, so I know you guys are currently expanding the farm. So you've been in Kahuku, that's where people typically recognize you guys being. I know you spent a little bit of time in Kunia, but now you're also working in Eva.
Yes.
So you'll just talk a little bit about the expansion, but also like the products. I know you guys were talking about doing organic as well.
Yeah, so we acquired about 70 acres in Ho'opili about 2 years ago, and it was a great opportunity for our farm. Before that, we were farming on the same 40 to 50 acres for like 20 years.
Oh, wow.
So it allowed us to almost double our production, and for a long period of time, we were just selling our products in local grocery stores on Oahu, and I think the past year and a half, we've been able to sell our products through all of the stores across the island.
Wow.
And you want to talk about the organics?
Sure. Well, we're planning to get organic certified on the 18 acres. And basically, it's going to be a seasonal thing. We're just testing it out. We don't know whether it's going to work, whether we're actually going to get crops out of it. But it's something that we want to try because we think obviously it's better. But whether it's something that can actually, you know, be beneficial to us is, I don't know.
Awesome. I'm really curious to hear about those kind of transitions you guys decide to take or expansions, and what kind of motivates that, you know, versus your internal family decisions or customer feedback. So we're going to take a quick 1-minute break and then get right back into it.
Aloha, I'm Kirsten Baumgart-Turner, and I host Sustainable Hawaii every Tuesday from 11 a.m. to 12 noon. My guests offer insights on challenging economic and environmental issues facing our state, and offer innovative solutions to increasing Hawaii's long-term sustainability. Recently, we've been focusing on sustainable land development, food, and energy security. If you have a project or issue you'd like to discuss on the show, or would like to be a guest, please contact me at kirstenbturner@gmail.com. And tune in live weekly or view the show at your convenience at thinktechhawaii.com. Mahalo.
Aloha! How you doing? It's me, Angus McTech, wishing you to welcome and join us to see us on Hibachi Talk on ThinkTech Hawaii. Join my co-hosts, Gordo the Texar, and Andrew the security guy every Friday from 1300 to 1345. We look forward to seeing you. We'll talk tech and we'll have some wee bit of fun. And remember, let your wing gang free wherever you be. Aloha!
Aloha and welcome back to the Hawaii Farmer Series. I'm your co-host Justine Espiritu, and this is my co-host Matthew Johnson. We bring farmers and farm supporters onto our show every Thursday, and this week we have Shin and Neil from Ho Farms. Welcome again. And so we were just kind of getting into some experimenting you guys were doing in some transition. So you mentioned the new 18 acres you just acquired that you're gonna certify organic. And so if you could backtrack a little bit of that process to what goes into making a decision like that? Is this a couple years coming or?
Well, the land on the 18 acres has been fallow for a really long time. So, to do organic certification, you need land to be not farmed conventionally for at least 3 years.
Okay.
So I mean, it's a
perfect
fresh start.
opportunity.
We get the opportunity to do that, and we know that the market is really interested in organic. We don't know if it's profitable commercially, but we have the opportunity to grow it to market that product alongside our conventional products. So we think it's a great opportunity. I think 18 acres is a nice start,
That's a lot. I have like a third of an acre, so 18 acres is like a
Remember,
universe.
our entire production right now is 100 acres.
Wow.
Yeah, that's not including the 18 acres. So.
I think we were saying earlier, if you guys were to certify the 18 acres, I believe that's going to be the second largest organic farm on Oahu after Ma'o Farms, which I believe is about 25 acres.
I think so.
Which they're at right now, and they're going even larger.
We're going to
with
make
the
another
nursery.
one that's even bigger.
Oh, wow. So the challenge is on.
We're gonna,
Challenge is on.
well, if possible, if the 18 goes well, then we also have 50 acres in the Galbraith land.
Oh, okay.
And that
We got to
hasn't,
figure out whether it's going to work first.
that hasn't, yeah.
One farm at a
I'm glad
time.
you
Yeah.
brought that up. I mean, we kind of discussed earlier, there's a market demand
Yeah.
for organic, but, for each business and operation, they have to find their way to make it if it is something that's profitable. And, I think customers are sometimes making demands or wanting things, for example, organic. And I've heard this from other farms and distributors as well, and then things like, oh, there's a bug in my lettuce, or there's a hole in this, or and the things that kind of go along with those kind of methods. Then to me it kind of shows like the disconnect of people understanding how food is grown. There's a bug in my lettuce. Well, on the farm there's bugs
There's
all
tons of
over.
bugs,
It's
yeah.
part of the whole system. So there's still a lot of that education that needs to happen, and
Well, we're hoping at Ho'opili, down the line, we have the opportunity to create it almost into like an ag park. Not for farmers, but for visitors, know. And we're hoping to teach all of it, just not necessarily just organic, but teach them about our conventional production, and just understand that this is food and this is how it grows, right on the dirt.
Yeah, education is definitely a
Yeah.
big part of the whole process. Because I know with like the Oahu Fresh CSA bags that we do, we have a lot of people calling us. Like someone just called me earlier today, is everything in your bag organic? And so I had to have that conversation with them. Well, there's products that are grown organically but not certified organic. Then some of the products are certified organic, and then other products are grown conventionally. And so just having that conversation.
Yeah.
And then sometimes, in the past, I think even with some of the collard and the Swiss chard that you guys
Yeah.
grow, I believe you've
nice
been growing
farms on
that
that.
with organic practices.
Yep.
And then sometimes there would be those bugs in the bag, and people start, freaking out.
Yeah, those are
So
good
kind of like
bugs.
Justine was saying, it's all kind of
Yeah.
like that give and take
Yeah.
that we all need to figure out. So excited for the new venture that you guys are going into, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of challenges along with that. But that's a great direction to be going.
I'm curious if that, I feel like ever since I've been interested in farms, it always has been that kind of like outreach element and the idea of like bringing people onto the farms, showing them how stuff is grown, what it looks like before it's picked. Is that something that you had to introduce to your parents, or maybe the generation before you, this idea of letting people into your operation, or like using that as a marketing thing or that education tool? I think you mentioned that your dad originally was just selling products maybe to a distributor. So
Yeah.
if that transition has happened.
Well, for us, we don't make any money on like tours or, education of people coming and learning about the farm. It's primarily just selling produce. But we do let people on the farm, if they're our customers, and we do show them around. My dad doesn't have any problems with that. He's open to, meeting our customers. We do have other challenges, working with our parents. And it's just like disagreements among like understanding like marketing and like price points, like, how we want to push product out to our customers, To him, like, it's a product, just sell the product. Why do you have to make it so difficult and dynamic,
But which is, so you feel like he doesn't kind of like appreciate that?
He didn't, but now he does.
Yeah.
It's been 9 years in the working, so I think we are pretty much
Finally having a breakthrough.
Yes, we are finally, having a breakthrough.
I think it is pretty amazing, and I think I kind of learned this from, you talk about this in your ag business class, is like the beauty of marketing and branding to really, there's so many farms, a lot of farms are selling the same product, so how do you distinguish yourself? And it can be something about just being dashingly handsome, good-looking people at the farmer's market, or just like your simple logo that's, just those little things that outside of the product yourself. Like, you want the product to just sell itself, but it's interesting those little business tactics and how...
I don't really think we have any special tactics. It's pretty straightforward for us, We're just trying to produce a good quality local product and have it consistently.
Pretty much everybody that we deliver to, we talk to every day. We call them, we ask them what they need, what's going on the farm, whether the rains just smashed us, just every single day we call them up and we ask them what they need, what we have, what's going to be available.
Mm-hmm. And how has that been working? Because I know the past month, the rain has just been pretty disastrous for a lot of the farms. And how have you guys been faring with that?
So normally we produce about 100,000 pounds of produce. That's how much we sell. Not necessarily produce, but we sell about 100,000 pounds a month. And I would say that we're trending at probably selling only about 35,000.
Wow.
Yeah. And the biggest loss for us is our tomatoes. And it wasn't really because of the rain. It was because of the heat in August. The heat just didn't allow the tomatoes to produce the fruits that they should have. They just kept on growing taller. So that's where the loss is. And we're still, producing cucumbers really well and long beans really well right now.
And then how do you communicate that with your markets? Are they receptive to that? Are they like, oh, it's cool, like we understand?
Yeah, they understand because it's not only us that doesn't have product. It's pretty much everybody on this island. We try to, as a farm, to be as, consistent as possible. But it's pretty tough. Like you're working with things that are grown outside.
Or we also try to project for them and let them know that we're not going to have, and what it looks like. Mm-hmm. But sometimes those projections are wrong.
Yeah.
So where can people find your products? You mentioned before you were in Costco, but I don't believe you're in Costco anymore.
We're no longer in Costco, but we are in all the Foodlands, Times Supermarket, Whole Foods, Don Quixote, Marukai,
and Geomarket.
Geomarket, Down to Earth. We're at the KCC Farmers Market.
Cool Market.
Cool Market, I think it's a lot of stores. Did we get all of them?
I think so.
And a lot of restaurants.
Yeah, a lot of
restaurants.
That's cool. And then, so working with restaurants is a little different from grocery stores. Do you have any relationships with restaurants or chefs where you're like, hey, I have a lot of this, so do you want to do something else? Like, do you guys collaborate in that way ever?
I communicate with them on a weekly basis. So I try to offer them full boxes of produce at a discounted price.
Okay.
It becomes a little bit difficult for us to say, oh, this you want 10 pounds and you want 20 pounds. So what I try to do is just tell them, hey, I got this, it's 20 pounds and it's $20. And just, so when my packer here's packing, he just makes 20-pound boxes. So I do communicate with them when we have excess. And I think we have a great partnership with the restaurants. Forgot what I was gonna say.
But kind of like what you're offering the restaurants, like if you have excess.
Well, it's pretty exciting for us because what it does is it allows us to kind of like grow all this random stuff that we usually don't do every
So
single
chefs
day.
and restaurants are asking you for that, or what makes you jump into that realm? Or
Well, it's the opportunity to explore larger commercial scale
Yeah.
stuff that we
You
might
kinda
want to
just
grow.
like test things out. You're trying it, you're playing around with it. You don't know if it's gonna work. You don't know if it's you're even gonna get like a bud off of that thing,
Right.
right? So it's
Yeah.
kind of like you're just playing around, and if it works, then we kind of scale it up a little bit, and
Yeah.
what have been
hopefully-
some like surprise successes in that area?
Butternut squash.
Yeah.
We
I
did
think
that with
we
butternut
pushed that one
squash.
how
commercially.
was that a surprise? That how the market responded, or just how it grew?
We did like 2 small parcels, and we had a little, and obviously that's not enough to actually create an item in the store and all that stuff. So we just sold it to the chefs at first.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're also doing spaghetti squash as well, so.
Yeah, that one's hard to grow.
That one's
Yeah,
hard.
yeah.
We were very lucky this year.
It's like a big balloon, like when it gets
it's like winning the lottery.
It is, yeah.
You just go out in the field and like, wow.
Oh, I remember now. I was going to say that with the restaurants, we sell our off-grade quality to them. So we offer them pretty much the same price year-round, but when we have better quality, we give them our best quality. And when the quality kind of, like right now, there's a lot of rains, more pests, we give them basically the best quality we have, whether it's grade A or off-grade. And they're really happy with that. In times that they can't get produce, they're still getting produce. And a lot of it is completely edible.
Yeah, and that's
Yeah.
I feel like
Yeah.
that's another benefit with selling to
Unique
restaurants.
cucumbers.
Yeah. All squirrely looking things.
Yep.
And then you guys also have some value-added products.
We
as
do,
well.
yeah.
And is that a new development?
It's just exploring into the value added. We are doing pickles. We're pickling things from the farm. So that's one of the things we offer that at KCC. So we're pickling like okra, cucumbers, beets, carrots, beans.
And so
Butternut.
this is another good way then, kind of going back to what you were saying about like the off-grade products, because that's kind of like a topic that seems a lot of people are talking about now, where I don't know, like KCC has an initiative going on right now where they're trying to tie it into their culinary
Yeah.
institute, what to do with this off-grade or surplus product that's out there. So what other things, is that a big issue for you guys on moving? Do you have so much? Maybe not right now, but in other parts of the year?
It really ranges throughout the year. Sometimes we have a lot of off-grade and we barely have enough first quality for the grocery stores, and other times it's the other way around. I think it's great because we're not wasting. It's like we created this standard in America where like all the oranges have to be like this big and they have to be like deep orange, right?
Yeah.
Same thing for the cucumbers. They all have to be this straight and nice and green. If there's a patch of yellow here, it doesn't make it. But I mean, it's just.
Quite the description.
But it's nice to it's nice to know that the community is involved in helping us minimize that waste, and I think that's really important, and I think it's the job of our generation.
We're going to take a quick break and then maybe get a little
Smooth.
more detail about some Hawaii-specific issues or things that we're dealing with here and get your perspective on that. So thanks. We'll be right back.
Hi, my name is Stan Osserman, and I host the show every Friday here on ThinkTech Hawaii called Stan the Energy Man. We talk about everything energy, from anaerobic digesters to batteries to hydrogen fuel cell and grid power. And we do that to keep you informed on the latest technology that's out there and the things that are going on in Hawaii. We broadcast every Friday from noon until 1 o'clock, and I hope you'll tune in. So sometimes we'll be on ThinkTech, and sometimes we'll be on Olelo Channel 54, and I'd like you to listen in to me and join me every Friday. We'll see you then. Aloha.
How's it? I'm Damon,
I'm Joe.
and we're the Lola Brothers.
We are the Lola Brothers.
We are the Lola Brothers. Hey, join us each week where we'll have wacky animations and adventures, and you'll get to hang out with one of our amazing friends. We'll talk about music and what
Life
else?
in general.
Life in general. All right.
Current events.
Current events.
Technology.
You can tweet us at ThinkTechHI.
Tweet us. We enjoy
And
it.
every Thursdays at 5 o'clock.
Thursday.
Join us.
5.
I'm gonna jump in.
Hello and welcome back to Hawaii Farmer Series. I am your co-host Matt Johnson here with Justine Espiritu. There she is. And we are with Neil and Shin Ho today talking about their farming experience and being the next generation of farmers here in Hawaii, talking about some of the positives, but also some of the challenges. And we're going to kind of get into now a little bit about the future of agriculture in Hawaii. Where obviously you guys are at the forefront of leading the charge, I would like to say, of being the growers, but also branders and marketers. And you guys are really well known in the agriculture community. So you guys have a really good sense of what's going to work and what's not going to work. So I know we've had many conversations before where sometimes the challenges are too much and you guys are like, forget this, I'm going to go back to California or whatnot. But you guys have been sticking with it for at least 9 years now. And I think I even heard before, and now it's recorded on tape, that you guys are a permanent fixture within Ho Farms. So that's great to hear. And Neil, we're still kind of getting a look from Neil. Neil's not shaking his head. He's just kind of glaring at me. Okay. Moving on. But yeah, so just kind of talking about so you guys are moving into this new site at Ho'opili. And what was kind of interesting about that is Ho'opili was a somewhat, I wouldn't say somewhat, but a controversial development project where it had been, or it still is agricultural land that is in the process of being rezoned into residential for a large development project that's going to be coming in there. So in effect, plowing over a lot of prime ag land. But part of the deal with the developer was that you guys are able to come on and expand your farm and really taking your farm to the next level. So you guys want to talk a little bit about that where, we already spoke about it a little bit where this is a great opportunity, but how do you see a similar type model that maybe could be in other parts of the state where we've kind of had this mixed use, where there's always going to be this development pressure, but then how do we keep ag lands viable as well?
I think it's really important that landowners in Hawaii, allow long-term leases and make those commitments to farmers, because without long-term leases, we can't finance a lot of things. And agriculture is progressing. We need high-tech facilities, and we need enclosed buildings. We need temperature control storage, and it's money. It's financing that allows farms to borrow money and grow in that direction. So I think the opportunity at Ho'opili for us was really important. It allowed us to expand. It's allowing us to do our organic certification coming this fall. And agriculture in Hawaii is not limited because there's not enough ag land. I think it's limited because there's not enough large commercial growers. It's commercial growers like us that bring products to regular people. We put our long beans in the grocery store and regular consumers go and they pick up those long beans and they eat it. They might not even know that they're eating local, but they are, It's big commercial producers like us that supply for regular people and not the early adapters. Because the early adapters are the ones that are like, hey, I'm going to the farmer's market. I'm looking for something cool to cook with, It's the size and the volume that allows you to reach into the main market where consumption is happening.
So what about in terms of starting, though? Can you really start big? Just my experience, again, coming from Go Farm, we're starting, I have a lease now and I have 1/3 of an acre. And we're joining this cooperative of other small farmers and kind of working together that way. I don't know that I'll ever, have 18 acres. Or what's the role and what's maybe the size when you say, they have to be large?
I think maybe it's not necessarily size, but also whether, talking about the future and how we're going to make ag viable. I always bring up the word co-op, and when I bring it up to experienced farmers or people who have been in the industry for a long time, they'll usually be like, oh, well, it will never work. It'll never work. But Neil and I are still exploring that word because that's kind of the only way we can pull together all those different farm sizes. How do we collaborate together and, produce product and be able to create more volume so that we can actually deliver it to a store like Walmart. You know, Walmart's not just going to take like one box of tomatoes with 12 pints in it. You know, they want like 1,200 pints. You know, in a delivery.
I mean, because I think it is really interesting. And like our guest last week, you know, the small cafes and restaurants that do, you know, we want to incorporate local, and we'll take from anybody. You know, our backyard farmers, our small farmers. So it's interesting to see those different scales and how, you know, in terms of we want our restaurants, we want our customers to be eating more local, of what that kind of balance is of all of that, and how everyone fits in together is interesting. And like you said, it's not necessarily that we don't have enough ag land, but we don't have enough farmers. And which also makes me curious too. I feel like programs, I just keep going back to the Go Farm program because that's what I know in terms of, this is what I see as like a public-private partnership of recognizing this issue of producing more local food and going about it that way of training program.
We're talking about public-private partnerships at the ADC Whitmore Project.
Yeah.
And how it's, the scale of it is for larger.
Well, I think that's a great opportunity for, like, you know, eventually when those small farms, they know what they want to grow, and then eventually they want to progress and maybe grow on bigger parcels. I think the great thing about that is that long-term lease, because, you know, as a small farm, and if you're gonna go take out a loan, like, you're not gonna, the bank's not gonna give you a loan if you don't have a long-term lease on your property and you're gonna, you know, planning to buy some equipment. It's just not gonna work. It doesn't work like that in our system. So I think that provides this awesome opportunity for, you know, the next generation of commercial farmers, you know,
And
graduating from the Go Farm program
Yeah.
or any other program that the state
And
has.
it's nice to have that public-private partnership where the state, you know, is in control of the ag land, you know, because they have no interest in developing it. Their interest is ultimately preserving it for agriculture, you know. And it's so important that we have long, contiguous tracts of ag land, like 5 acres here, 5 acres there. Like when it comes to logistics of moving produce, it gets really
Yeah.
difficult,
Definitely.
Well, can you guys give us some more background then on the Whitmore Village project, which is a project being done by the state and the Ag Development Corporation? And I know you guys have been involved with that, but maybe just give a little background on that.
Well, I think they just, what was it, a few years ago, they acquired the Galbraith estate, and that was what,
1,200.
1,200
And
acres?
that's up in Wahiwa,
Yeah,
up just
Waiwa.
past the birthing stones.
So
I believe the water is now available.
Yeah, so
So maybe by the end of this year. we
the
should have
purpose
some
of
crop.
ADC was to transition, I guess, plantation, to transition agriculture from plantation to diversified. And it was set up many years ago, and I think just recently it's been more active. And I think it's a great opportunity because I know a lot of people looking for agriculture land, you know, and ADC, I'm not sure if they still have land, but I think that they're going to have land available coming up in the next year. Long-term leases, really good rates, you know. They're just looking for experienced farmers. That's the big difference, you know. Yeah.
So this is going to be the 1,200-acre ag park, and they're kind of curating the park, bringing in some of these larger
I
commercial
think they're
producers.
trying to create like an agricultural hub where, you know, farmers need certain services, whether it's welding, fabrication, IT services, marketing, printing, whatever it is. You know, bring all these guys together so they're in one spot so they can work together and share these services. You create, your businesses are creating small businesses. You know, that whole ripple effect, and it'll ripple down the supply chain.
All the support
Yeah, the
businesses for
support.
these larger
So
businesses.
kind of creating like an economic hub for that industry. Because if you think about it, in Hawaii, we don't have, like, there's no real agriculture sector. You know, if you go to California, it's huge. You have contractors, you have sprayers, you have fumigators, you have harvesters. It's just
Whereas
goes-
here, that's a farm has to be all of that.
yeah, you have to do
Yes,
everything,
yeah.
and it's really exhausting.
It's really cool for me to hear about what it is, you know, it's such a small space, or Hawaii is a small group of islands, of what those differences are for.
But I think because we're small, we have the opportunity to actually do this better than California, you know, because we're such a niche network of people, you know.
Wow, so you're almost sounding really positive. This is great. Like when we spoke on the phone earlier in the week, you're like, I don't know, Matt. I'm really
I get
not
my
feeling too
days.
good. So I guess we caught you on a good. So Thursdays are a good time to talk to you.
You
Okay.
see the opportunity.
Yeah. That's great. Well, I guess also too. I mean, so there are some. I mean, it's fantastic to hear. The state's getting involved, and there's some of these larger plots of land for the commercial producers. But then we also have like something like the Go Farm program, which is getting these new farmers up and going and kind of getting them literally in the dirt. So we're seeing a lot of positive, but what would you say is still missing though, or what to become, like you said, even better than California, what still needs to happen? Because I know it's not all rainbows.
I think
and
it's like
unicorns.
like this whole farm to table concept. Really, one day trying to like link that information from the farm to the customer directly. So as a farmer, you put your your harvest information into a system, or you put your planting information into the system, and that system can project how much product you're going to get out of it. And if you're a diversified farm, it allows you to basically grow a whole bunch of random stuff, and we can make a huge difference in the amount we import. And it makes it directly available to the customer, whether it's the restaurant, whether it's a supermarket, store, and it's real time. And I don't know, trying to figure out a way to do that. I've put together like a mind map and whatnot, but it's a long process.
So it's kind of like this meta production planning system, but then also kind of linking out into what's available for restaurants and on the market end of things too. So if you can see that there's a lot of farms growing a certain product, then maybe you would switch out and try something else. Is that kind of what you're thinking about?
No, you would allow, you would actually,
He's always right on.
It's like, boom, nailed it.
basically being able to like, if someone can create a system that
It's
basically.
basically a database.
Database,
right?
yeah.
But it allows you almost like a transparency, like sales port. You know how I promised you carrots like years ago, right? So like, say I planted carrots
waiting.
like today. Yeah. Say I planted carrots today, and carrots are about 65 days, and 30 days down the line, we get like 5 days of rain, and I'm just gonna enter into my database. Flooded, carrots are dead.
So it's that transparency
Yeah.
between the producer and their customer.
Yeah. And then also, I think he wanted to be able to say, like, provide transparency for the customer as well. Say there's a QR code, the customer can scan it, and they know, okay, well, this one's an organic product, and they use neem oil on it, like, every other week. Or this item's a conventional item, and they use like a fertilizer. I don't know my fertilizers on it. Calcium nitrate.
You're the marketing, not the production side.
Yes. So I think he just wants to be able to collect information. That's the key to that system, and that information is very useful to us as the farmer. It's useful to the buyer and just the direct consumer.
Yeah, so it sounds like it's all about kind of communication and transparency.
Transparency,
in a
yeah.
way. Yeah. So that's a nice concluding element.
Perfect conclusion.
It's all about everyone communicating and sharing.
Yeah, I mean, we're in the technology age. Like, we need to kind of integrate that in. We need to integrate that into agriculture.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on and kind of sharing your perspective and getting some more background info on you guys and your farm itself. It was a real pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you guys.
All right. Thank you, and join us next week.